Hi, it's Carolyn. I'm here to help you learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes. And in this video, it's going to be a little different than the videos I usually do. I'm taking you along with me on a really busy week. I've had quite a few people ask me to do like a little blog, and I'm not great at blogging. This is my first shot at it, and we'll see how you guys like it. But the last week in June was one of my busiest weeks, and it actually ended in tears. And I'm glad that I filmed all of this so you could see like the real side of cake decorating where it gets a little stressful. Now, I started filming this on Saturday, June 20th, but on Thursday the 18th and Friday the 19th, over the course of 2 days, I did all of the baking. So I baked my cake layers, wrapped them up, and froze them. When we start this video, you're going to see my cakes out of the freezer and thawing. So that is Saturday morning. And I'm going to take you along with me as I fill, frost, and decorate all of these cakes that are due for the following weekend, which was June 28th to June 30th. So I started over a week in advance to make these cakes. So come along with me on this crazy busy week of cake decorating. So early Saturday morning, about 6:30 to 7 a.m., I took all of these cakes out of the freezer and I store them upside down on a cookie cooling rack, and I just let them completely thaw. I don't like to fill frozen cakes, so I let these sit out still wrapped in the plastic for about 4 to 5 hours before I fill them. So it took me about 5 hours to fill all of these cakes. So I have to make all of the filling, and then I have to torte the cakes and get the filling on there. And I do have tons of videos showing you how I fill my cakes and frost them and my whole process. So I will link that in the description. But this does take a little while. It's easiest when it's vanilla because I always have vanilla buttercream on hand. But a lot of times I have to make the special fillings, and that does take a little while. So I started filling these cakes around 12 o'clock that day, and I finished around 5 p.m. And when I have this many cakes, or all the cakes that I do, I always label the bottom of the cake drum and all of those little cake circles so I know which cake it's for. But after I fill them, then I use my spatula and just scrape off the excess icing. And then I take the plastic that they were wrapped in when they were frozen and just rewrap them, and I let them sit at room temperature overnight so they can settle. And still on Saturday, I have to make extra buttercream, and I have tons of cakes to crumb coat on Sunday. So I made probably about, I think that's like 6 batches of buttercream. It's ridiculous. But when I'm making all of these cakes, I need to have all of this buttercream icing ready for me on Sunday morning for when I start to crumb coat the cake. So I just leave that in my little lock and lock container, and I can link this in the description for you. And then also on Saturdays, I like to make all of my fondant. Now, when it's a crazy busy week like this, I have to make a lot. So here I made 2 batches of black fondant that I'm combining into one so it can all be the same uniform color. And I'm adding a little bit of Tylose powder. I always add Tylose powder to my marshmallow fondant. It helps make it stretchy, helps make it smooth, and brings it to a right consistency. Then I just ripped it in half, and I'm wrapping each one up in some plastic wrap, and I store them in airtight containers. And again, I can find similar ones and link them below. But with my white, I had a old batch of fondant there, so I always put the old batches on top so I can use them first. And I like to put a piece of plastic on top and then put the lid on, which really helps protect it from the air. So I'm going to set those aside. So here is all 15 of the cakes that I filled, and I'm letting them settle at room temperature overnight until I'm ready to do the crumb coat. But it was about 7 or 8 p.m. by the time I finished filling all the cakes, making all the extra buttercream and the fondant, and cleaning up my kitchen. And then after I do that, I teach yoga on Sunday morning. So I have to go to the studio, which luckily is only about 2 minutes from my house. But I go there and I plan my class for the following morning, so I have an idea of what I want to do. And I actually love teaching yoga just because it gets me out of the house, and yoga always keeps my mind and my body right. So I really appreciate this time that I can spend alone in silence and prepare for my class. So Sunday morning, I wake up just before 6 a.m. and get ready, and then I get back into the kitchen around 7:30 in the morning, and I need to crumb coat my cakes before I go teach my yoga class. So I remove the plastic, and then I like to take my spatula and just scrape off any excess icing that was pushed out by the settling process, and then I add my crumb coat. So again, I do have videos where I show you how I ice my cakes, and I will link that below. But the crumb coat process is really easy because it doesn't have to be perfectly neat. Using my bench scraper to scrape off the sides and my spatula just to remove the excess icing on the top. And I'm doing that for all 15 of these cakes and setting them in the refrigerator. So it was almost an hour. It was 8:42 by the time I got to this last cake. So crumb coating these 15 cakes took a little while. And here are all 15 of the cakes with the crumb coat on them. They'll sit in there for about 4 to 5 hours before I add that final coat. It's just a process that really helps making icing your cakes really easy. And then I drive down to the yoga studio and I teach yoga from 10 to 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings. And I've been doing this for a few years. I just love it so much. It's just allows my mind to be at peace, especially during a crazy week like this. Now, let's start at 12:21 after I got back from yoga, and I am adding the extra layer of icing to these cakes. And since I do it this way, my technique, it does take a little while for me to do this. So what was that? It was 12:21 that I started, and I have to ice all 15 of these cakes. So with this outer layer of icing, you got to be a little more precise and careful. So I go over it with my bench scraper a couple times. And then I use the Viva paper towel to smooth everything out. Once I smooth it with my fingers, then I use my fondant smoother to smooth it. And then I use my spatula to get rid of the excess icing. And then I refine the edges for all of these cakes. So this is why it takes a little while for me to do it this way. I've been doing it like this for so long. This gives me the best result. I just prefer to do it this way. I know it takes a while, but I get in some hot water on the top to smooth everything out and make it look nice and pretty. So that's the process. That was just one cake. I had to do that 14 more times. So it was 4:58, so almost 5 hours later, and I was finally finishing up this last cake. So now I go back to the fridge, and you can see all 15 of these tiers are iced and ready to be decorated. So these will be sitting in my refrigerator all week as I work on the decorations and putting them together. Yes, they will be fresh. If your cakes are moist to begin with, the buttercream icing seals them. They're not going to dry out. They're going to be fresh. I never have complaints about my cakes. So now on Monday, I woke up just around 6:50. I started working around 8:30 that day, and what I like to do is list every cake that I'm making, and then underneath it, I write down everything that I want to accomplish that day with those cakes. So some of them, I had to cover the cake tiers, I had to make some toppers. That was everything that I wanted to get done for the day. So here I am making all of the rice cereal decorations that need to dry, so I made those first and set those aside. And then I made this cake, which is a little on the easier side because it has a lot of edible image decorations on it. So sometimes I like to get the easy cakes done with. That way I don't have to think about them anymore. And I got a lot of things done on my list. I did add a few more things, but it's almost 9 p.m. My kitchen's all clean. Everything is ready to go for the next day. On Tuesday, I start around 8 a.m. And again, I made a list of everything I wanted to get done. And I did make a quick sketch of the cake that I was going to work on that day. And this one had all fondant decorations. So here I am. I sped it up. And I'm making these fondant decorations for this cake. And I wish I could put it together this fast. It would be so nice if it came together like this. But I got that cake done. And then I finished this other graduation cake that I was working on the previous day. And then I also had to make 2-pound cakes. So before I went to bed, I made those pound cakes, got them in the oven, and wrapped them up and put them in the freezer. And I finished that day around 10:21 p.m. So that was over 14 hours of work that day. Then on Wednesday, I started again. I got down there at 6:25 in the morning. And also, I always run to Wawa for coffee. Sometimes it's the only time that I get out of the house. And Wawa coffee helps me get through the day. So this day I'm working on the carnival cake. So I do have a video. I'm working on editing it, but I will post the video shortly. So I'm still working on multiple cakes at a time. I don't just do one cake start to finish. It just all depends on the decorations that I'm doing. So I finished that day at 9:31 p.m. and then the next morning I started working around 11:30, and here I am just putting on the finishing touches on this little name tag and the rest of this carnival cake. So again, this is the one that I filmed a full tutorial on. Look how cute that is. It did take forever to make, but I will have that posted soon. And then I started working on this one. Now, this cake wasn't that difficult. It did have a lot of little animal prints, but it had edible images on it too. And then I got to do some buttercream paint splatter, which is a lot of fun. It does make a mess of your kitchen, but it's so much fun to do. And look how pretty this is. I have a video where I show you how I do this, and I will link that below. And then by Friday, I got in the kitchen around 9 a.m. and I was super stressed and just kind of over it and overwhelmed. So I made this video here and I did post it on social media, just saying about like the real side of cake decorating and the raw emotions that come along with it, because it's not always rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it can get really stressful and just get to you. So if you wanted to see this whole video, it is on my other social media platforms. So there you go, and there is my crazy busy cake decorating week, which ended in tears, and I did end up working all day Friday finishing up the cakes that were due Saturday and Sunday. So this week was an anomaly. Is that the right word? Wait, I have to look that up. Okay, that was right. This week was an anomaly because not all of my weeks are super busy like this. But I usually say that I don't like to do weeks like this back to back because I need a little break. When I'm so busy like this, I'm literally working from morning to night. I can't go to the gym. I can't like stop and do anything because I have so much to get done. And I don't know about you, but when I have a lot to do, it weighs heavy on my mind. So even going to the gym, I'd be thinking I need to get all this stuff done. And I wouldn't be present in that moment, and it would just make matters worse for me. So that's why during these busy weeks, I just try to focus and get as much done as I can. Although I must say, probably walking outside for 10 minutes or whatnot might help me reset. But when I'm overwhelmed like this, I like to get everything done as quickly as possible. So like I said, I don't like to take too many crazy busy weeks back to back to back. However, in June, it was just one of those months that was insane. I had orders coming at me, and you know, I try to tell myself it's not going to be forever and take advantage of the busy season while you can. Right now, it's the end of July, and this month has been really slow, so it's nice to get a little bit of a rest before it picks up again. Now, that is the nature of the business with cake decorating. I swear it's either feast or famine. Like January and February and July, there are crickets. Nobody's ordering cakes. I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs. Wait, do people do this anymore? But I'm just sitting around wondering where everyone is. But think about it. January and February is right after the holidays, and not a lot of people are having parties. And in July, everyone's on vacation, and that's why there's a little lull in the business, and then it picks back up. So June, there's tons of graduations, and there's weddings, and then again, September and October are super busy. So I just try to remind myself that as I go through the ebbs and the flows of the business. And then some people say to me, why don't you just hire some help? And I do have a friend, I love her, Rachel. She helps me deliver my cakes. I don't know what I would do without her. She can deliver the cakes for me, so I don't have to take 2 to 3 hours out of my day just to drive the cakes all over the place. But I don't want to hire help, and this is my own fault and it's my own belief system. But people do not have as much passion for your business as you do. And I'm saying you, but I mean me. You know, I just know that, for example, my best friend runs a dentist office. Every single day when I talk to her, someone has called out, someone is sick, they don't feel good, they have cramps, and people call out all the time, or they just up and quit. And I can't take on like 20 wedding cakes relying on somebody else to help me out and feeling like there's a chance that they could just quit or walk out on me, and then I'm stuck with all of that. So that's why I don't like to hire anyone. I'm perfectly happy working from home working by myself because I make my own schedule and I'm the one in control. And that's why I also get a little bit mad at myself when I overbook myself too many weeks in a row. So I want to show you all the cakes that I made that week and let you know how much I charged. This graduation cake is all fondant decorations. I charged $675 and I got a $125 tip, so in total I got $800 for this cake. This neon paint splatter cake has edible images on it and it was $580. And I do have a video where I go into detail on how I do that buttercream paint splatter, and I will link that below. This graduation cake was simpler than the first one that I showed. It's smaller and there are edible image decorations rather than fondant, and this one was $350. This safari cake has fondant decorations on the tiers on the background, but the animals she wanted edible images, and this one was $600. And a lot of people ask, why do you use edible images rather than making characters or animals out of fondant? One of the main reasons is budget. So sometimes people want a really big cake, and getting some edible images on there rather than having fondant decorations helps keep the price down. I do have a video where I talk about that, and I will link that below. This Philly theme cake also has a lot of edible image decorations, and I charged $425 plus I got another $75 for delivery, which I paid Rachel to deliver it. So the total that I got for this cake was $500. And then this carnival cake, I undercharged a little bit, and this one was $650. I probably should have charged about $750 for this one. So in total, during this crazy week of cake decorating, I made $3,480, and that is 1 week, and that is with no sleep, and that is not going to the gym, and it taking a little bit of a toll on my mental health. But that's fine. I mean, the money was good. So just to give a little perspective, the first we're 4 weeks into July, and I've only made all 4 weeks combined so far. I've only made $3,405. So I made more during 1 week in June than I have all of July. And that's where I go back to the ebb and flow of the business. There are always highs and lows. And to be honest, it's one of the things that drives me most crazy, because I always say this, every month always has 1 week where everybody wants a cake. And then I'm like, well, I have openings the week before and the week after, but this week is full. It just seems like everyone in the world just gets together and decides that this certain weekend everyone's going to have a party. But anyway. And I know I post all of these videos, and at the end I have this mantra, it's cake, have fun. And it's something that I have to try to tell myself all the time, because when you are stressed and you have a lot to do, or your cakes aren't turning out right, it ends in tears. It can be very difficult to continue going on when you are so stressed out. But I try to refocus on gratitude. I am so grateful that I get to work from home and do something that I love. And usually when I start to focus on the positive aspects of it, it makes this whole process a lot easier. So I think that's it. I hope you liked this kind of video. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, like, do people really care about what I do in my life? Like, I know people are here just to learn about cakes, so I don't want to post too much about my own personal life, because I just feel like nobody's interested in that. But let me know if you'd like to see more vlogs, and I will try to make more videos like this. If you guys have any questions or comments about this, leave it below. And just a reminder, I have ebooks with all of the recipes that I use. I have my scratch pound cake recipes, my best doctored cake mix recipes, all of my buttercream icing and filling recipes, along with my favorite numbers and my favorite fonts. So they will all be linked below. And I do have a Cake Academy membership program where I can help you elevate your cakes to the next level. All of that information is in the description. Please like this video if you liked it, and if you're enjoying my tutorials, I would be so grateful if you could buy me a coffee. My link is down below. And I would love it if you would keep in touch on socials, and you could check out my website. And if you want to stick around, you can watch this video next, and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and remember, it's cake, have fun. Even though when you're going crazy, still try to have some fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye.